Fred, do you understand? Sorry, yes. Do you understand? Are you going this way? Do you understand what's going on?
Just no further action, that the race control decided that he slowed down enough. We don't have access to the data of the mini sector.
So at the moment, but then it said a lap time has been deleted of George for double yellow.
Deleted if it's double yellow. It was not double yellow.
Okay, so you think at the moment that still stands, that no further action, and you need to... and does that satisfy you, that he seemed to have done a lift, lost a tenth of a second, and yet still got pole position?
To have a clear opinion on this, you need to have the data, and we don't have access to the data.
Okay, all right. Well, that's the situation. Thank you very much, Fred, going to join our colleagues on Sky Italy. I think you could say philosophical is the word, but with Ferrari potentially looking at a 1-2. For that to be taken away under still such controversial circumstances, and obviously we've heard from Toto Wolff, but if the data then outrules the marshal's post with the waved yellow, and they consider that the 100-meter lift and the loss of a tenth and a half enough, then George Russell will indeed continue to retain his pole for the Austrian Grand Prix. That's the situation down here at Ferrari. Philosophical, I think you could say, and Fred Vasseur seems to accept that it will be second and third for Lewis and Charles.
Yes, he seems very calm indeed, doesn't he? Well, plenty of confusion and indeed controversy. Let's head back up to the commentary box, see what David's got for us.
Yeah, thanks, Nats. The Vidi printer on timing page 3 continues to churn on, telling us now that everything is clear in the various sectors. The lap time that was deleted for George Russell, because it was under double waved yellows, and I've checked this now with the FIA, was his in-lap after the lap that was fastest in Q3, that I think he's going to hold on to and get pole position here. But it didn't say it was his in-lap. It just said lap deleted. Kimi Antonelli had a lap deleted. There was no time on there, so we couldn't reference it with any time either. It just said lap deleted. The no further action for the stewards for not slowing down under a yellow flag. That is no further action. That will not be reviewed by the stewards because George Russell did slow down. Confusion to me is whether it was a double waved yellow or a yellow, and it certainly looked like, from the marshal's post, a double waved yellow. But as Bernie Collins said, looking at the timing and the data, it could have just been a single yellow on the actual data sheet itself. All very lengthy explanation as to exactly what's going on here, but as far as we can see from here, George Russell will be the pole sitter as it stands at the moment for the Austrian Grand Prix tomorrow.
Wow, I don't think I've seen anything quite like this. What do you make of it all?
I think we need to go back and review the footage. The drivers on their dash, if it's a double waved yellow, will get a message on their dash. So they know immediately if it's a double waved yellow, if it's a red flag, and then they know their lap's getting deleted regardless of whether they're improving, they're on a good lap or not, that lap's getting deleted. The onboard I've seen of George so far, there's a light panel that's flashing, but it's hard to tell. It actually looks like it's flashing green and yellow on and off, but it's hard with the way that the frequency is with the onboard. And then I can't see a marshal with a double waved yellow, and then he's lifted and then he passes the zone. So as far as George seems to be aware, it's a single yellow, which all you need to do is lift and show that you've lifted and not improved your sector, which he didn't. As far as maybe others are feeling that it was a double waved yellow, this is the misinterpretation that needs to be clarified. But from George's point of view, he felt like he lifted enough, and to be honest, the fact he was able to retain pole, even with that lift, is impressive.
The point is, if it was a double, then he has to have the lap time deleted, but it wasn't a double.
Yeah, so I think, what I was saying on the pit wall was, in data, in everything I can see that's coming from the FIA, at the point that George and Kimi went through that sector, it was not a double waved yellow flag. Now, it's very, very hard to see on board what flag it actually is from our side, and I think Anthony's outlined there that in reality, it was also not a double waved yellow flag at the point that they went through that sector. So I think it's case closed. I think it's a red herring to say that it looked physically like it was double waved yellow. It was single yellow flag when both drivers went through it. Both drivers lifted. Kimi aborted the lap, but from what I could see, Kimi was not on for pole on that lap anyway. He definitely couldn't have done what George was going to do. I think Kimi, best case, would have been around P3. So he might have beat Lewis Hamilton if he'd finished the lap, but not any further. George did the right thing. He did the lift, a big enough lift to satisfy the FIA. It was a single yellow at the point that he went through it, and it only went double waved yellow during his in-lap. So I guess, so for me, that's the end of the discussion.
Okay, so
Russell's lap stays.
He did the right thing, but it should have been a double. Isn't that more to the point?
End of the discussion in the sense George's lap stays. He did nothing wrong. He responded to what he sees. What's a bit tricky about that section of corners is if you see a car in the wall, you would normally assume it's going to be either a double waved yellow or a potential red flag or what have you. In that section, you can't actually see that car in the wall. So you're fully reliant by the light panels or by the signals that you're given. And he did nothing wrong in that instance. He responded to what he had. The bit that is a potential issue is the fact that a car's in the wall. There probably should have been a double waved yellow. And if there was a double waved yellow for Kimi, why wasn't that the case for George? And Kimi could have been on a much better lap and could have been challenging for pole. He's backed off because of what he's seen, and then George comes through and it's single yellow. So that's what I foresee an issue with. I don't see an issue with what George did, and great lap for pole position.
Okay, well, this is what triggered.
Yeah, just listening to you, Max, it did look a very good lap you were on. Completely unexpected. What happened to you in turn 9, or had there been signals already that the rear was stepping in?
Well, not in that corner at all. I mean, just that lap already in turn 6 on the entry, big moment. So that was a bit weird because the whole weekend I've never had something like that. And then I arrived to turn 9. It was just like turned in and immediately gone. So it was not even a small correction. It was just immediately full lock off. So that's a bit odd, but we'll have a look. It's a shame. I think realistically we could have been P3. So it's a little bit better than P5. But I can tell you also realistically, I think even if we would have been P3, coming off the line is hard for us. So you probably drop back to P5. But that's what it is at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big upgrade the team have brought and made a big effort. And their target was sort of getting to within 2 to 3 tenths. So in that sense, do you have to say it's kind of what you were aiming for as a team?
I think we have to wait also. I mean, this track, very short lap, right? So you could see naturally a lot of people were close. I think there's still a few things that we want to understand from the package that worked well, maybe some bits not so well, and then we'll just work from there.
Go well tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, aside from all the controversy, Karun, the thrilling thing for us as fans is that 3 different teams were in the fight for pole today. Probably more than we expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Max dragged himself into contention there. Brilliant lap on used tyres in Q2 to get himself into play on an even footing. And on the last lap, I was looking at the first 2 sectors. He was a little bit down on what Russell was doing, so I don't think he would have got pole. As you said, P3 was probably where they were at. I'm interested in his comment about the starts, because one thing we were looking at was the Racing Bulls, for example, with the same power unit, same gearbox, same tyres, really. They don't seem to have these inconsistencies of the start. So there's something perhaps in the way that the Red Bull racing team are setting the systems up, because they are very independent teams, of course, in operations, that maybe is giving them these inconsistencies and giving Max these worries about the start.
Did it surprise you, though, given how close he was to getting knocked out of the top 10 shootout, that he was then in there really wrestling it around here? I mean, we know he's got 5 poles here. If he's going to do it anywhere, it is here. But it's still a surprise.
It is, but I feel like I should stop being surprised by Max.
Yeah,
when he
true.
does stuff like that, it's just Max to a T. He pulls it out when you need to. And I think what we saw in Q2 was just the strategy of not sending him out, and I think they got themselves closer to the limit of where they wanted to be, but that gave him the extra set of tyres, gave him that really good first run in Q3, and then he was following up for a good run in the last one until the off. But he seemed fairly happy, and I think it'll be interesting to see if he can get himself in the mix tomorrow, regardless of the potential start.
OK, well, it is a mix that is going to keep us right on the edge of our seats. George Russell is on pole.
Well, Kimi, P4, it's the second row, pending any other investigations that might happen. Just talk us through your own final moments in the qualifying. Did you see it as a double yellow and that you had to abort the lap?
I don't know why, but I thought it was a double yellow. So just, I aborted completely and missed the front row.
So you shouldn't have done that?
No, I shouldn't have done that. That was my mistake.
Okay.
So I aborted the lap. Would have been very close with George. There was only a tenth between us. So it would have been a little bit ahead, but still would have been front row. So, yeah, shame for that.
Okay, just finally though, you have looked the quicker Mercedes for most of this weekend. Are you in it to win it tomorrow? Do you think you have a good chance of coming back from 4th to win this Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, we'll try to do our best. For sure, it's not going to be easy, especially with tires. But for sure there's a lot to play for. Deck is going to be high, and we'll try to do our best.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kimi, like many others, did think it was a double yellow, so he bought it as a lap as a result. Ultimately, is this George's experience paying off, do you believe, Karun?
It's George perhaps knowing the rules that, you have to have the diagonal double yellow. I have some sympathy for Kimi Antonelli. Having seen the Skypad clip that Anthony showed, when he came up to that yellow flag, he was the next car behind Max. It came up just before he got to the panel. So he didn't have much time to see it. And in a high-speed corner like that, your eye line is to the right. You're looking for the apex of the corner. The panel's up there on the left. He would have seen this flashing. I have some sympathy for him. I'm sure he's disappointed. He sounds disappointed that he made that mistake and thought it was a double. But I don't think he should beat himself up too badly, because he didn't have much time, to be honest.
And it's a reminder just how tight the margins are in Formula One, isn't it? It probably wasn't good enough for pole. Maybe front row, though, he believes. So it makes the race look different from that, from that position.
Definitely. I mean, front row, but to that point, obviously the Ferraris got through the last sector without a yellow flag. He would have had to have lifted for a yellow flag of some description. Ideally, it would have been a single one for him rather than a double, and that he backed out for. But yeah, I think what was impressive to me there is George just pulled it out of what felt like nowhere. Kimi's just been the measure of everyone. Every time he went out, he was just always consistently quickest, more or less. And if he wasn't quickest, he was right there. Whereas George kind of pulled it out of nowhere, a little bit like in FP3. So I think that bodes well for tomorrow, and he'll have confidence from that. He'll know that he's got good pace, he's confident in that car, but he will be frustrated to be on the second row because, yeah, he's been the measure this weekend.
Yeah, it's about harnessing that pressure, isn't it, when it matters most?
Yeah, I mean, as Jamie rightly said, George was 900ths up in the first two sectors of the lap. Now, we've seen Kimi has been extraordinarily fast in the last sector, so he may well have pulled it back. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. Ultimately, George knew the rules, had a bit more time to react. As we said before, Verstappen crashed, Antonelli was the next car. George had an extra 5 seconds, so he had to run up the hill to see the panel, to see that it was a single and not a double. For us in the commentary box, it was confusing because it came up saying double yellow, and you expect to, if a car's crashed at that corner, you expect it to be a double yellow. George knew the rules, he reacted well to it, and that got him pole.
So experience and a bit of luck always helps in this game, doesn't it? OK, well, Lewis Hamilton did provisionally put it on pole, but ultimately qualified in third. Let's hear from him now.
Well, listen, well done, Lewis. I mean, given how you started Q3, is it pretty satisfying to turn it around the way you did?
Yeah. I think very, very close between everybody, if you can see those small margins. I think we've done a really good job over the weekend. The team did such a great job to bring upgrades this weekend. The engine. Yesterday we were quite far off. We didn't really understand why, but made some changes to the car and we closed that gap. Unfortunately, my Q311 wasn't spot on, wasn't spectacular with two mistakes. Well, the mistake in turn 3, but it kind of didn't feel great already from turn 1. And so I had a lot to recover with that one lap at the end, which makes it really much harder when you don't have a banker in. But but it's great to be up there with Charles. And it's a long way to turn 3, so hopefully we're in a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, as you start alongside the young man you're chasing in title terms, you can fight for the win tomorrow, do you sense?
I think out of pure pace, no. The Mercedes have been just very, very quick this weekend. As I said yesterday, it was 6/10. So I think in pure pace, it would be very, very hard to do. But maybe with strategy, maybe there's an opportunity. But I think it's a tall order to try and win tomorrow. I think tomorrow we got to maximise points for the team. Obviously, try and keep one of the Mercedes behind if we can, and if we can get both of them, that would be mega.
Good one, thank you. Sorry.
So Lewis believes strategy will play a big part tomorrow, but also the starts. Let's consider those, Karun, because we know that their smaller turbo helps them at the start. How much of an impact, though, this altitude and heat might have on those?
The others have caught up, haven't they? That big advantage we used to see in the early part of the season seems to have gone away. The others have really caught up in the starts. But lap one is tricky here. We've seen safety cars on 4 out of the last 7 races on lap one. You know, we get incidents at turn 1, you get incidents at turn 3. So I think there's an element of survival on the opening lap. But we have got a slightly jumbled upgrade. The man who's been really the favourite and the fastest over the weekend is going to be starting 4th. Verstappen has dragged himself into contention. Okay, he's playing down their ability to get off the line, but you never discount him. He's going to be 5th. So I think there's going to be a very action-packed lap one here.
Oh, that's exciting.
It always is. And it's never, or lap one goes all the way up until turn 4. You've got such long runs into these hairpins as this track goes. And yeah, it's either chaos or it creates so much opportunity to see a bit of good action. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be who can switch their tyres on well. Obviously, it's hot enough, that's one thing, but actually switching the tyres on to have the confidence to send it into turn 1, turn 3, and then, like I say, it continues down into turn 4 where it can get super clumsy, so that's where the gravel creeps in.
Okay, quick word on Charles Leclerc's qualifying. I know much has been made of his difficult run of form of late. He's had some crashes, but it's actually 4 apiece in terms of his qualifying head-to-head with Lewis. And it was a strong day for him today. We should give him a shout-out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's going to be starting on the front row, ahead of Lewis. Exactly what he needed to just rebuild his confidence in this mid-part of the season. So I think he'll be satisfied with that.
OK, well, 6th and 7th for the McLaren boys. Let's hear from them in the pen now.
P6 ultimately, Lando. Did you take some damage in Q1? Did that hold you back a little bit?
No, because the guys fixed it, so it was all good. So that was a good qualifying from us. I think P6, P7 in terms of position, obviously it's not where we want to be, but I think our laps were very close. We probably feel like we got a lot out of the car today, and it's just where we realistically are. So of course we maybe expect a little bit more, and it was so close to the cars ahead. It's easy to say more was possible, but I'm sure if you ask them, they'll say the same thing.
Yeah. Will there be a bit of anxiety in a few camps tomorrow in terms of reliability and so on? We've seen some of that even affect McLaren a fair bit this year. What kind of race car do you sense you have under you tomorrow?
No, I mean there's no concerns with reliability. I think we of course think we're there or thereabouts. We certainly know we're not as quick as the cars ahead of us, but we give it a good shot like we did in Barcelona. We were not as quick as them, but I drove better and we kind of had a better race. Of course, reliability is a part of it and it's part of racing, but there's not a lot I can do when I'm on track. So we'll see. It's a long race, many pit stops, a lot of things can happen on a day like tomorrow. So let's stay in the race and see what we can do.
Go well.
Thank you.
We said a 5th and 6th for McLaren at the end of that. Ultimately, were you caught out by what happened?
No, I was in front of it. Just not quick enough for us, unfortunately. I think the whole weekend there's been, I think, half a tenth at most between the two of us. So I feel like we're probably getting the most out of things. The last lap was a little bit messy in a few places, but we didn't have enough to go and challenge George today. So. A little bit frustrating. We seemed like we were really competitive yesterday and even at the start of a lot of Q1, Q2, so just missing that last little bit.
Yeah, still losing a bit to Mercedes works team on the straights, whether that's the drag of the car or where you're deploying, but hot conditions obviously for the race itself. Might there be a bit of attrition? Might you hope to use your tyres better and make some places?
We'll have to see. I mean, I think the Ferraris being in the top 3 is impressive. They didn't look amazing yesterday, and today they've definitely made a step forward. And I think in the race, they're generally quick in all the corners and not so much on the straights. So if that means they got more downforce, then when it's as hot as it is, that's only a good thing for them. So we'll try our best, obviously, but I think it's going to be a tough race, and everyone will probably be pretty close on pace.
Go well. Thank you.
Piastri has qualified 7th for the 3rd consecutive race, and it's also 4 apiece for him with his teammate as it is with Ferrari. Now, Jamie and I were chatting actually a bit earlier to Andrea Stella, and he said, I don't expect us to be competitive again until much later in the season. That's definitely bumped on a bit, hasn't it? Because I remember Lando saying to me it was going to be a turnaround in Barcelona, and then he sort of kicked it down the road a bit. What's gone wrong there?
He sort of said, yeah, let's wait a little bit. I think it is coming, but not yet. And I think it's a bit hard, he said, to decipher the midpoint of the season now because we've had this slight delay and we don't know what the future of the season might look like. So, he said it's coming, but then we both asked him, is that going to come in one big lump? Is it going to come in sort of stages? And he's alluded to the fact that it will be in stages. And I think we're slowly but surely going to see McLaren return to their form, but we shouldn't expect it now. That said, it is so close that it doesn't take much for them to end up on the right side of a podium here and there, and I think that is probably what they're going to be searching for at the moment.
Well, they need to capitalise on DNFs, don't they? I mean, it's reliability if that comes into play, but 6 months is a long time, I suppose, in Formula One, but when you think that they were fighting and winning the World Championship and now they're nowhere near in it, I mean, that must be disappointing for them and also slightly confusing.
I think what is a bit confusing is the fact that they've brought updates and they haven't quite worked, which is different to what we've seen in recent times. You know, they introduced a front wing in Canada that they took off the car. We heard they were going to try the Macarena flip rear wing here. They didn't. So I wonder if there are some questions around the correlation going on between what they're seeing in the factory and out on the track, and that can knock you back. That can knock you back several weeks, months in terms of what bits you bring to the car. You've got to find your new baseline. You've got to just try and understand the beast you've got and work out, are the bits going to actually translate to on-track performance? Because it doesn't matter what the computer says. It's about what happens on track. And McLaren have been extraordinarily good at that in the last 2.5 seasons. But I wonder if there's some delays because of that happening this year.
Yeah, Karun's right. I remember here a couple of years ago just bolting on an upgrade and suddenly they were transformed as a team. How disconcerting must that be when you pin all your hopes on an upgrade and it just doesn't translate?
It's probably the worst feeling because, everything that you put it into, the hard work in the factory, the simulation, it doesn't correlate. That said, it's part of it. And I think we're in a development race now. It's new regulations. Things are going to work, things aren't going to work. But what was so impressive about McLaren of previous, Red Bull of previous as well, is how quickly they can turn it around and how they are able to eventually turn it around. And I just think what we're seeing now, obviously, with Mercedes dominance, I can just see it looking so different come the end of this year. And we'll be looking back to this sort of side of it, which still is close, although not as close as we would like. And it's going to be a completely different ballgame.
Nothing to add.
Oh, I thought you would give me a little wiggle of the finger to say, I'm coming in.
No.
Okay, well, more from both of them after the break.
But in terms of qualifying performance, there's the package that they have, and then they've got two drivers that can just deliver lap after lap. And George saying that's a lap that he felt came out of nowhere. It was incredibly impressive, but Kimi as well would have been right there. And I think just the pair of them are just able to get the most out of the car, which is so important.
Yeah, because he clearly didn't think it was a given. When you consider his reaction on team radio, he was delighted. And obviously he put it top of the timesheets in FP3, but to just take that into qualifying, that must be a huge boost for him when he needs it most.
Yeah, he looked behind in qualifying. He looked behind on pretty much every run up to there. Then, he delivered that final lap. And as we said before, he was up on Antonelli on that final lap. He played it right with the rules and delivered, and very well deserved. Because I think, for George, we've seen this in Canada, we've seen it in Barcelona. He's not coming as easily for him across the weekend. But he is able to rise to the occasion when it matters at the end.
Yeah, wrestle it off his teammate. What did Lewis Hamilton make of George Russell's pole? We can hear from him again in the pen.
No, I saw the car when I came into the pit lane, but I don't know, and I don't know if George was quicker in the last sector. I don't know. I'm waiting to find out, the information, the scoop.
Yeah.
Was he quicker in the last sector?
No, because we are discussing in our live.
Was George quicker in the last sector?
Yeah.
Oh, he was. Eesh. Okay.
Well, it's George's first back-to-back pole since Vegas and Qatar in 2024. And actually, it's Antonelli's worst start of the season so far. I mean, if your worst start is P4, you're doing something right.
Yeah, that's right. But I think just picking up on Lewis's reaction there, I think he said this kind of the same that what we've all been saying, and Jamie and I, which is when you see a car in the wall at turn 9, 140 mile an hour corner, he sounded like he expected it to be a double yellow. So he was surprised to learn that George improved. That's what I got out of that little conversation. But as Anne showed, it wasn't a double, and George did the right thing. So I think there's a whole lot of conversations to be had in terms of learnings out of what's happened there.
I think it's worth noting, clearly, the track evolution, the fuel coming off, that last run, there was a significant increase in lap time for everyone. We saw the Ferraris go quickest, second quickest, jumped ahead of the Mercedes. So if George had finished the lap and not had the lift, he's saying he would have been 3-4 tenths quicker. Kimi as well, mighty in the last sector, would have found a lot of lap time as well.
Little spud for the main man. Nice. Oh, and again. Oh, no, we're going to go for
Okay,
that.
keep it safe.
Yeah, that was awful. Try. Oh, that was good. Congratulations,
Thank you.
first and foremost. For those back home, how do you explain lifting and still putting it on pole?
Well, I think because my rivals were the guys who, Max was out and Kimi backed off. So, I think I would have been 3 or 4 tenths further ahead. But those guys, having looked at it now, they were kind of nip and tuck with me. So, the 3 of us clearly had a step more than the Ferraris and McLaren.
Can I just ask as well, is it quite useful chatting to Ant straight after? Because, you're full of rush of emotion and all sorts of things you're trying to process, and then you can actually talk through it with Ant at the Skypad.
Is it? Well, I mean, it's...
Say yes. So
yeah,
just
it's
say
handy,
yes.
yeah. So Ant keeps his job. It's super useful. Thanks, Ant. You're the main man for me. I have a lot of respect for Ant, so I do enjoy it. And it's nice to... there aren't many people who know what they're talking about in this industry, and with Karu, Jamie, and Ant, you guys have got some... Drivers, sorry. Drivers. I didn't phrase that very well. You know what you're talking about as well, but from the driving expertise. I'll shut up now. I'm not out of myself.
Stop digging.
Yes.
George, can I just ask, because it looked like this was a harder session for you. Barcelona, we spoke after quali there, and it seemed from the first run of FP1, it seemed easier for you to get the times, to deliver the lap times. This seemed like harder work, and as you just said, the last set, magically the grips seemed to come there. Yeah. Just any idea why that was the case?
I've got some ideas, and I'd probably prefer keeping that between us, or with me and my team, to be honest. But I think this session was real sort of confirmation again for me. It's so challenging this year, and I've got to continue keeping the faith, because those bad days today proved, and I didn't just suddenly remember how to drive in Q3 and forget how to drive the rest of the weekend. It just clicked, and I spoke about this on Thursday. You got to find that click, and this year it's becoming increasingly difficult with these cars. But I think the more experience I get, I can deliver those performances more consistently.
Stay calmo. Yes. If in doubt, stay calmo.
Yes.
What did that actually mean? Stay calm. You went
stay calm.
Calmo, but you went calmo.
Yeah, I actually, Sky Italy think I was trying to play mind games here, and it's because I spent a lot of time in Italy. They always say, like, stay calmo, stay calmo. Okay. So we were very stressed in Q2, but yeah, that was no mind games. That was just. In hindsight, I should have probably said stay calm.
Listen, whatever it did, it worked. So well done. Thank you for your time. We've taken up enough of it.
See you later, guys.
And go well tomorrow.
Cheers.
So what kind of race can we expect tomorrow, Jamie?
It's going to be challenging. It's hot. That's one of the big things, I think. We keep banging on about how hot it is, but that's always tough. Tyres, reliability, everything. Also, it is reasonably close in that mid-pack. We've got Kimi starting out of position. We've got Max, who had some good pace at the end there. McLaren's potentially a bit out of position. Fast-starting Ferraris. And then, you put George at the front of that queue, and it's going to be exciting for sure.
It is going to be thrilling, Karine. You excited?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, Ferraris are the meat in the Mercedes sandwich. And Max Verstappen looming behind in 5th place. I can't wait for the opening lap.
What an image. Can't wait. OK, next up, it's Ted's Quali Notebook. Join us tomorrow from 12:30.